bringing in our panel tonight. We have Denise Gitsham, Republican strategist and former aide to President George W. Bush, and Kurt Bardella, host of Kurt's Country on News Nation, if you haven't checked it out already. Both are News Nation political contributors. We thank both of you for being here tonight. Denise, let's start with you. We were just hearing this from Laura Ingle a moment ago. Trump's comments today saying someone would have to shoot through the assembled media to hit him, and quote, "I don't mind that so much." Denise, your reaction, and is this the kind of messaging his team is hoping for with 2 days to go?
As somebody who's a conservative, a committed conservative who really wants a Republican to win this election, it is so frustrating to me that this sort of rhetoric is coming out in the final hours when the undecided voters that will decide the outcome of this election are making their final choices. I think it's such a distraction from the real issues that Americans care about that he's actually winning on and policy-wise, but he isn't able to make his case forcefully against Harris or even use her own words against her, which is so easy to do. I mean, you look at his ads and they're brilliant because they're just repeating the nonsense that she spouted and things that she's flip-flopped on, but he can't even get there because he can't get out of his way and stop making unforced errors like these.
Kurt, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Denise is absolutely right. It is an unforced error. Every minute that you're spending down the campaign stretch not talking about your issues, in Donald Trump's case, the economy, immigration, inflation, contrasting yourself with Kamala Harris, every second you're not doing that is a second that you've wasted. And when we get to Election Day and beyond, and we look back and go, gee, if it turns out that Kamala Harris wins and Donald Trump loses, and people ask, well, how did this happen? It's because time after time after time, Donald Trump squandered opportunities to use his stage and podium effectively to message, and instead went off on these bizarre and if not downright dangerous rants that just have no place in this type of conversation. And Denise is right. The last second voters who are waiting to figure out which way they're going to go that will decide this election, if it's as razor thin as the polls tell us it is, this kind of stuff turns them away.
Yeah, Denise and Kurt in agreement. I see Denise nodding there. Denise, what advice would you give Trump as we're in the final hours of his campaign?
Well, you know, the reason Kurt and I agree is because we're strategists and we win. So I think the advice that we'd probably both give him, I hate to speak for you, Kurt, but, you know, I just think that you need to focus. I almost would say take him off the campaign trail, play your ads, play Kamala Harris's words against her, show her record, show how much she has moderated, become a born-again moderate, which has nothing to do with her ultra-progressive agenda, and ask the question that has to be asked over and over again. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Resoundingly, Americans say no, but he hasn't been able to make that case forcefully, and this rhetoric that he continues to push out only feeds into her narrative and her closing arguments about his character and personality.
Kurt, I want to ask you about this. Both candidates spending an awful lot of time in Michigan, of course. VP Harris just finishing those remarks from East Lansing in the last hour or so. Michigan has this large Arab American community. We've been covering this a lot tonight. Many upset with Biden's support for Israel's war in Gaza. We know about 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the Democratic presidential primary because of it. Kurt, how concerned should Democrats be about Michigan turning red as a result?
I mean, it's kind of like if you actually care about that issue, Donald Trump's made it very clear where he is on the Middle East situation. So I think for left-wing Democrats who want a more progressive, sympathetic to the Palestinian position, well, Donald Trump isn't your answer for that, I'll just say. So it's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot for no particular reason. At the end of the day, I expect voters to come back home. I understood the primary process. Everybody knew it was kind of a protest vote situation. Kind of like on the Republican side, everybody knew that not voting for Donald Trump was just a protest vote. It didn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't show up in November to vote for your guy. I think that a lot of these Democrats, when push comes to shove, will come home and vote for the Democrat, vote for Kamala Harris tomorrow, or Tuesday rather.